At the courthouse, I ran into my ex-husband Liam, with whom I hadn't had contact for ages. I deliberately showed off the diamond ring on my hand and sarcastically said, "Aren't you madly in love with your mistress? Why did you get divorced in less than 5 years?" He retorted, "And how are you any better? Amanda, do you really know who your husband's wife is?" I rolled my eyes, thinking he was crazy. I directly asked the staff to pull up the files. "My husband is not like you. Although he's a bit poor, he's a good and devoted man." My voice trailed off. I was shocked to find that in my husband Ethan's marital status column, the name filled in was Isabella, the exact same name as my ex-husband's mistress back then. "Amanda, after all these years, your taste in men is still as bad as ever." Leaning aside, he smiled cynically and said, "Since we're both here, why not remarry me?" I froze in place. Liam's mouth opened and closed, but I didn't hear a single word clearly. I only remembered that 5 years ago, I caught him and Isabella in bed. He knelt outside my door for a month, desperately begging me to forgive him. I was heartless and chose to leave the marriage with nothing but the clothes on my back. In the end, we became sworn enemies who never interacted. I never expected that in just a few years, we would both appear at the courthouse at the same time. And the mistress of my current husband was still Isabella. Liam called me several times. Seeing that I was still in a daze, he suddenly grabbed me and forced me into the car. We drove to a strange luxury villa. Finally, I came to my senses and asked hoarsely, "Where is this?" He folded his arms and said, "This is your fake husband's house. Impossible." I flatly denied it. He's just an ordinary construction worker. How could he afford to live in? The next second, I saw Ethan, dressed in a suit, appear in the yard. The servants on both sides bowed and greeted him in unison. He looked calm, as if he was used to it thousands of times. I felt cold all over and could barely hold my phone. Last night, this man was still wearing a T-shirt that cost $3 for $10. Looking depressed as he stroked my belly and said, "I wish I was born into a wealthy family. At least our baby wouldn't have to suffer with us." I smiled and comforted him. Being an ordinary person is not so bad. Rich men tend to go bad. Like my ex-husband, he cheated on me during my pregnancy. Ethan was usually jealous. When I mentioned my ex-husband, he directly pressed me against the wall and kissed me. In the end, I could barely stand and couldn't say another word. Now that I think about it, he was probably just guilty. And I was really stupid. Liam looked at my face getting paler and paler and hooked his lips. "Do you know why there are so many guests coming and going here today?" I subconsciously took 2 steps back and covered my ears. But he forcefully my hands and whispered, "Ethan and Isabella have a son named Noah. Today is his 4th birthday. It's strange. They hold a birthday party for that child every year, but you never noticed." My blood froze instantly. I subconsciously touched my belly. When I first found out I was pregnant, Ethan excitedly hugged me and spun me around in the hospital. I asked him what name he wanted to give the baby. He blurted out without hesitation, "Let's call him Alex, the smart Alex." I thought it was a bit strange. Then why not call him Noah? Ethan kissed my forehead and said with a smile, "Because the nickname Alex is so cute." As soon as I refuted, he deliberately kissed me to change the topic. At that time, I was so happy that I didn't notice that Ethan stiffened for a moment. It turned out that he already had a child named Noah. So our child could only come second no matter what. Tears dropped heavily on the back of my hand. After a long time, I took out my phone and edited a text message. "Honey, there's something wrong with the pregnancy check-up. Can you come and see me now?" Ethan replied quickly, "Baby, my boss is crazy. I have to work overtime tonight. Let's talk about it when I get back." Kisses. I looked up and saw Ethan calmly put his phone back in his pocket. I held onto the corner of the wall and couldn't help retching. This embarrassed look of mine must have been extremely ugly in Liam's eyes. My proud self-esteem made me leave without looking back. But Liam suddenly and forcefully grabbed my hand and pulled me to the gate of the Z family. He showed a red invitation. "This is my wife. We share one." As soon as he finished speaking, a wave of nausea surged in my stomach. The security guard let us in after checking. After entering, I squatted in the corner and vomited until I was dizzy. Liam's face was very bad. "Amanda, are you disgusted by walking with me or by the shitty things Ethan did?" I thought it was ridiculous. What he did was shitty. So what about what you did? I wiped the physiological tears from the corners of my eyes. "Both of you are scumbags. Is it interesting to compare?" But Liam laughed and leaned close to my ear affectionately. "Even scumbags can be affectionate. I regret it now. Don't forget, you have me to thank for being able to catch them cheating." I was shaking, and the nausea came up again. Just as I was about to find a corner to squat in, there were suddenly exclamations from the crowd. Isabella, dressed in an expensive high-end dress, made a stunning appearance surrounded by people. I felt a chill all over. Liam continued to whisper in my ear, "Amanda, this outfit of hers is probably enough for you to work for several lifetimes, right? See the bracelet on her hand. It's item bought at an auction. Ethan spent $1 billion on it. What has he ever bought for you?" I was shaking uncontrollably. I looked down at my faded shirt. Not long ago, I took a fancy to a dress priced at $300. I wanted to buy it, but in the end, I spent the money on Ethan's sneakers. That day, he held my face and kissed me again and again, as if he had received a $30 million limited edition item. And now, I smiled sarcastically. Now the pair of shoes the young master of the Z family is wearing is probably worth far more than $30 million. Isabella suddenly stopped in her tracks. She glanced at me from afar. There was surprise and undisguised hostility in her eyes. After not seeing her for several years, she was still as beautiful as when she was lying naked on my bed back then. Weak, docile, like a dodder flower that would wither without relying on a man. But back then, she was relying on my ex-husband Liam. Now, she was relying on Ethan, who had lied to me for several years. Tears welled up in my eyes uncontrollably. But Isabella suddenly provocatively waved at me. Her fingers were delicate and white, looking well taken care of. And my skin had already become rough, dull, and dry like the bark of a 1,000-year-old tree. Ethan had once caressed my palm inch by inch and gently comforted me. "Amanda, these marks on your skin are medals of never giving in to life. I love them as much as I love you." He lowered his head and kissed me gently. At that time, his eyes were full of stars, as if he was the most affectionate man in the world. But in the end, it was all fake. Ethan wouldn't let the woman he really loved endure any of life's hardships. I lowered my head, wanting to leave quietly. But Liam deliberately held me tightly, making it impossible for me to move even half a step. Suddenly, Isabella whispered something in Ethan's ear. The two of them laughed, and Ethan picked her up and walked towards the main seat amidst the kind laughter of the crowd. "Mar and Mrs. Z have such a good relationship. After being married for so many years, he still spoils her like a child. When we first met, Ethan once told me that he most admired my independent and strong woman look. Mrs. Z doesn't have to do anything. She just married into the family and got 20% of the shares for free." I heard that Mr. Z knelt in the ancestral hall for 3 days and 3 nights, with broken glass sticking all over his knees to get it. There was a period when Ethan's knees were seriously injured. I went to the construction site for him and carried bricks among a group of sweaty men for a month. In the end, I got his apologetic and grateful eyes. Liam was right. My taste in men really was bad, but he forgot. I, Amanda, would rather fight to the bitter end than endure in silence. So I broke free from him, grabbed the microphone from the MC, and asked with a smile in front of everyone, "May I ask if Mrs. Jean knows that her husband has another wife outside?" The noisy banquet hall fell silent for a moment. In this glamorous occasion, I was wearing simple clothes, like a monkey on display. Who is she, dressed so shabbily? How did she get in, making wild accusations? Is she crazy about money? Laughing to death, Mr. Z is well known for protecting his wife, the last one who dared to. Smear him has been lying in the high seas for half a year.
Welcome to Story Unwound, the podcast where we unravel the threads of compelling narratives. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Ben.
Today, we're dissecting a story of betrayal and rebirth that is just staggering in its intensity. It's called Sudden Rain and Farewell. Staggering is the right word. Ben, let's lay out the premise for our listeners. Okay, imagine you're at the courthouse, finalizing a divorce from your new husband only to discover a horrifying coincidence. It's more than a coincidence, it's a nightmare. So the protagonist, Amanda, discovers her current husband, Ethan, isn't just cheating, he's legally married to another woman.
Right.
And that woman, Isabella, is the very same mistress her ex-husband, Liam, cheated on her with 5 years prior. The same one. The story masterfully paints this picture of deception.
Yeah.
Amanda believed Ethan was this poor, hardworking construction worker. You know, she's scrimping and saving, wearing a faded shirt, while he's secretly a millionaire.
Wow.
Buying his other wife, Isabella, a $2 million bracelet. I mean, the contrast is just gut-wrenching.
Absolutely.
And the ex-husband, Liam, is the one who orchestrates this grand reveal. He drags Amanda to a lavish party at Ethan's mansion, forcing her to witness the life she was excluded from.
Wow.
It's a cruel act, but he frames it as, helping her see the truth. Both men are they're so deeply flawed.
Totally.
You have Liam, the repentant cheater who wants her back, and then Ethan, the master manipulator who built their entire relationship on a lie.
Right.
Ben, I have to ask, who do you think is the bigger villain here? That's the brilliant, murky part of the story, right? Initially, Ethan seems worse. His deception is so total. Yeah, he pretended to be poor, letting Amanda carry bricks on a construction site for him, all while he was nursing an injury he got kneeling on broken glass to win favor for Isabella's family. Ethan did all of that to pretend to be poor. Oof. But then you remember Liam was the one who started her entire cycle of pain. It's a race to the bottom, really.
And it drives Amanda to the absolute edge.
Yeah. After this horrifying public confrontation where Ethan just denies knowing her, she's driven to a suicide attempt. She jumps from a balcony and wakes up with no memory of either man. Wow. Her brain literally performed a factory reset. This amnesia is the story's most fascinating turn, right? It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it frees her from that immediate crushing pain, but on the other, she loses everything. Everything, including the memory of the child she lost. It's a clean slate, but at what cost? But that clean slate is exactly what she needed to truly escape. I guess so. She's taken in by this long-lost, powerful uncle who helps her heal and rebuild her life, not as a victim, but as a successor.
Okay.
And the story skips forward a few years, and this is where we get the ultimate payoff. The final scene is so cinematic. Yes, Amanda, now this poised, powerful businesswoman, is hosting a summit. And who are the attendees depending on her investment?
Oh, I know.
Liam and Ethan. They corner her full of regret, telling her they've reconciled and decided to let her choose which one to be with. The arrogance is unbelievable, even after everything, right? But Amanda is no longer the woman they knew. She looks at them with what the story calls unprecedented boredom. She doesn't scream or cry. She just calmly informs them that their little arrangement is irrelevant and, oh, by the way, she plans to acquire their companies. It's one of the most satisfying character arcs I've ever read. It really is. She doesn't just get revenge, she transcends them. They are no longer the main characters in her life. Yeah, they are footnotes in her business portfolio. She took her pain and just forged it into power. Exactly. She reclaimed her own narrative completely on her own terms. Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. Amanda's amnesia was her turning point. It erased her trauma, but also parts of her life. So if you had the chance to wipe away your most painful memories to guarantee your healing,
Okay.
would you take it even if it meant losing a part of yourself forever?